Welcome to Todd's Lantern, where we discover the history, talent, and charm of St. John, New Brunswick. David Goss has been a freelance writer since 1975 and has published more than 3,500 pieces and has been leading walks and talks in St. John since 1978. He specializes in sharing local stories he's collected from area residents and has a vast collection from all over New Brunswick.
So let's start. I don't think it's too early. We're not going to move. If anyone comes late, they'll catch us right here. When I started to put this walk together, Harold, you never got me the muffler, did you? Yeah. When I started putting this together, I decided I'd think of how many people had given me stories over the years. I thought I'd maybe be somewhere around 20. So I started writing down the people that had shared stories with me over the years, and before I knew it, I was up to 56 people. You're not going to hear about 56 tonight, but you'll hear a few. And some of them are my own stories, and we're going to begin with one that's my own story, and that is, as you look right up to the top of this bandstand, you'll see the symbol of the City Cornet Band. And I'm told that this is not a cornet, but a flugelhorn. And in fact, in 1981, it was stolen from the top of this bandstand by two young fellas that roped it and removed it. A few days later, the police found it in a van on Princess Street, and it ended up in my office in City Hall in St. John. At that time, I was the recreation supervisor for the city of St. John. So it ended up in my desk for me to arrange for it to be put back up on the bandstand, which I did. But while it was down, we had a real good look at it, and I don't think it's a cornet. I don't think it's a flugelhorn. I think it's this piece of work that some blacksmith put together to look like one or the other of those instruments. So it's been up there since 1981 when it was replaced. As far as I know, it hasn't been down again since that time. So that's a personal story about the bandstand. The second story I want to share is that right over here, in this area here, in 1923, and I don't have this on first hand from anybody, this comes out of the newspaper, and some of the stories will come out of the newspapers. But the newspapers speak to me, just as you people do when you tell me stories. And in that block right there, in 1923, the St. John High School Choir was the first choir to sing a public outdoor concert in King Square.
Wow.
And we've had a tree in and around King Square ever since 1923, but that was the first time. So that was a nice thing. The only thing is that when I did my book, St. John Curiosities, I got the date wrong, 1924. Printed right in black and white. So if anyone tells you all the facts of my book are right, tell them, no, we know one that's not. And Judy knows about 100. Because she's always calling me, Dave, your St. John snippets today, your entry for today is off a little bit, Dave.
Yeah.
Well, not every day, but. Okay, so we're gonna walk over to the Imperial, and then we're gonna walk up through the Loyalist Fairground, and then back over to the. We're not really going very far from the square tonight, but you'll see a number of things that I want to bring to your attention as we walk. So let's go over to the Imperial. This is a walk and talk. Now today, the Imperial Theatre is the home of the New Brunswick Symphony of New Brunswick. But in 1951, the Symphony of New Brunswick had its beginning. Their home was in St. John High School. And I happen to have been able over the years to be a friend of one of the men who played in the symphony way back in 1951. Bruce Holder told me a very interesting story.
Thank you.
Bruce Holder in 1951 was playing in the orchestra, and the concert they were playing had a piece called Music for Christmas. It was described in the media as deft and sympathetic arrangement of 5 of the most loved carols. Now, Kelsey Jones had written this, Dr. Kelsey Jones had written this full score for symphony, written to feature each section of the orchestra playing alone in certain passages. But he had also written it so it looked like, or felt like, or listened like it was falling apart, that it wasn't going right the way it should have gone as a symphony piece. And it was written that way, in such a way that Bruce Holder Jr. had to save the whole thing with his trumpet by playing a ta-ta-ta, 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 ta-ta-ta. So it felt like he had rescued Kelsey Jones' symphony. It was all planned, but the audience didn't know that. They were aghast. So that was a story Bruce shared with me. Bruce was still playing in the orchestra when he shared this story. My own personal best story about this theater is one night when Harold Wright and I were telling the story of how Santa Claus was responsible for this theater. And I was telling a story dressed as Santa Claus. And I was in that alley over there, and Harold was leading the group up this way, and I was going to come out of the alley dressed as Santa Claus, and I was going to tell the story of how Santa Claus, appearing live on the stage, had been Walter Golding's idea in the former, before the Imperial Theater, in the former theater that was on the Nickel Theater. It was on next to Stone Church. Well, anyway, I'm in the alley, and these 3 teenage girls go by, and they see Santa Claus in the alley. And they rush right in, and they say, "Santa, could we take our picture with you?" And I said, "Ho, ho, ho, sure, you take your picture." Well, 2 of the girls got on each side of me, and the 3rd girl had her phone, and she took a picture, and she said to the 2 girls, "Give Santa a kiss." So the 2 girls gave me a kiss, and then they changed places. And then they changed places again. After they left, I said, "Harold, I'll play Santa Claus here anytime." Now, we just passed the fire memorial, and this story has a slight connection to the fire department. You know, the fire department used to operate a skating rink on the corner of King Street East. Many South Enders, St. Johners have told me hours and hours they spent at that little postage stamp, they called it, the little postage stamp skating rink. Well, in the wintertime, another sport in St. John was downhill skiing. And downhill skiing began in Rockwood Park in 1967, but there had been a ski hill at Ashburn Lake before that. And there was also a ski hill out in Hampton and at the Widgewalk. And these ski hills used to call into radio station CFBC and report their conditions. So Wally Short shared this story with me. And Wally said, you know, they would call in, Rockwood Park is closed, Ashburn Lake Ski Hill is closed. But they would get a call continuously saying that Starbuck Valley Ski Hill was open. They didn't know where Starbuck Valley was. It was long before we had Starbucks. Yeah. And they didn't know where the Starbuck Valley was, but time after time, when all the other ski hills were closed, Starbuck Valley would report that they were open. So they finally got curious and asked, "Who was calling?" And the guy identified himself as Cecil Dark. Now, Marilyn is here tonight, Marilyn Upton. She might remember. Well, it turned out when they did an investigation, Starbuck Valley was the incinerator in Milford. It wasn't a ski hill at all. So that was Wally's short story.